Ratchet & Clank started out in 2002 on the PlayStation 2, and here we are in 2020 getting ready for a new Ratchet & Clank game for the PlayStation 5 within the next couple years. This is a very popular series, and a lot of people really love it. So I thought I'd take a crack at playing Ratchet & Clank Future: A Crack in Time for the PlayStation 3. This game came out in 2009, and, thought it was finally time for me to play it, so I did. Added it to my list. Let's check it out. The title characters, Ratchet and Clank, start this game off completely separate. Clank is hanging out in the Great Clock, where Dr. Nefarious, a common villain in the Ratchet and Clank series, is trying to trick a race of creatures called the Zoni into helping him find the key to the inner chamber of this clock. Meanwhile, Ratchet is hanging out with Captain Quark, a big doofus who somehow is one of the most popular people in this universe. And Ratchet's goals are pretty consistently changing, with the only constant being finding Clank. This makes the story a little confusing at parts, but it all ties together at the end. Along the way, Ratchet saves people from Dr. Nefarious's cohorts, finds another Lombax, and then saves some more people. Oh, yeah, so Ratchet thought he was the only Lombax left, but turns out there actually is one more. Clank, meanwhile, is learning how to use something called a chronoscepter to fix up the Great Clock, as it's falling apart thanks to Dr. Nefarious. Clank also just happens to turn out to be the one who is supposed to take on the role of caretaker of this Great Clock. How convenient that this little robot who we've had with us on adventures, and he even was a movie star at some point, is now also the caretaker of this magical Great Clock. Overall, the story is pretty good, but just a few too many, oh how convenient moments. I do like that Ratchet and Clank were split up, as it let both characters grow separately, which is a little bit different than what we've seen in previous games. All of this being said, I'm going to give the story 53 points. When playing as Ratchet, things are pretty simple. Enemies come at you, and you shoot them with a whole bunch of guns. Not even all of them are actually guns now that I think about it. There's a Mr. Zircon, a robot you can summon that shoots for you, or you can shoot out a disco ball that makes your enemies dance, and so you can take them out a little easier. Either way, there are plenty of enemies in this game for you to tackle with the different weapon types. You also have a handy wrench to melee people, which is actually pretty fun. There's some light platforming, especially once you get the hover boots and you start using those to travel around. And that's actually pretty fun. Honestly, all of that gameplay is pretty fun. It's especially enjoyable when you have large wave of enemies and you get to just basically run them down. Besides this, Ratchet is able to fly in his spaceship. There's even some spaceship combat, which is fine. Which actually is how I kind of feel about the spaceship parts as a whole. It's cool to see the planets and how close they are to each other and explore it from a world building point of view, but for gameplay, I could have left it behind. I think because of everything, I'm going to give the Ratchet gameplay 39 points. Playing as Clank is vastly different than playing as Ratchet. I mentioned before that an early thing for Clank is getting the chronoscepter. Once you have this, you can hit all sorts of destroyed objects and they go back in time to when they were fixed. So pretty much the opposite of what you expect when you hit stuff with a big stick. There are some other time-related duties like solving time travel-based puzzles for some reason that range from dead simple to actually kinda complicated. You can also run a laser over different worlds to fix some time issues, which I don't really understand, and it's not honestly that fun, so yeah. Overall, the Clank sections are actually a little dry. Some of the puzzles are fun, and I like the story beats a lot, but story doesn't make gameplay here, and so with some of those puzzles, and especially that world laser thing not being so great, we're going to give the Clank gameplay 30 points. Ratchet & Clank Future: A Crack in Time came out 3 years after the PS3 came out, and this was actually the second Ratchet & Clank game to come out on the PS3. So developers had some time to figure out the system and learn how to make a pretty good looking game. I think they used this talent pretty effectively. The style of the game is a little more cartoony, seeing as it's made up of fake alien species. I think that makes sense. But the developers still work hard to make it look really good. What really got me was all of the different worlds. Sure, some of the moons and smaller worlds, they have common themes and those are repeated, but the main worlds you play are pretty widely varied and well designed in my opinion. Even this rock world that's pretty barren looks well made, and everything, including that world, is very cohesive across the game. You can actually believe this is one universe that Ratchet and Clank and everybody else lives in, travels, fights in. I obviously enjoy the graphics, even if they're a little bit old, so I'm going to give the graphics 48 points. It was fun for me to play this game and go back and look at it after not having played it for quite a few years. Going back and playing older games for me has really been showing how far things have come, and it's interesting to try and take an actually objective look to these games. You know, it's a different point of view from when I played it however many years ago, and so I'm able to really just try it differently and try to think about it and how I'd want to talk about it in a video like this. So for Ratchet & Clank Future, A Crack in Time, we have the story at 53 points. We have the Ratchet gameplay at 39 points. We have the Clank gameplay at only 30 points. The graphics, though, we have up at 48 points. That does bring the total to 171 points, and that puts this game at number 25 out of 34 on my game list. I do think this is a really fun game. I want to make that clear. I like Ratchet & Clank games, and I absolutely recommend that you play it, but objectively, this game just wasn't as high for me as some other games, like looking at Assassin's Creed 2 at number 14, or looking at Titan Souls at number 23. I really think it's a good time, and I think you'll enjoy playing it. It's just not that high on my list, unfortunately. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching today. You know, I really appreciate it. If you like what I do, I'd love it if you hit the subscribe button. You know, you can follow me on Twitter. That'll be in the description down below, but otherwise, hey, thanks for just hanging out with me now and watching this video, and I hope you have a good one.